think it's happened before. And what's going to happen again is a lot of anybody's guess. I think that these people are more of the future. I mean, look, I'm reading, current book I'm reading is one of Steve Larson's books. And I'm reading it on my telephone right now. Yeah. And actually, I prefer the iPad, which is a little bigger and which is easier for reading. And I have a Kindle, but the iPad is probably the Kindle killer. But that's certainly a future. Recently, e-books outsold paperback. Maybe that was a phenomenon of a Christmas rush for Kindle because it only happened for like a month or so. But I think that's coming. 2 million iPads have been sold, which is about 1 million more than our analysts thought Jobs would be able to push out by this time after it's. I don't know what's going to happen in this game. I don't even know if what you think of as a book is going to be a book anymore. The opportunities in with electronic publishing are enormous. You can have maps, you can have cutscenes, you could get fans to dress up as in costumes as your characters. Some of the costume conventions have people who do really elaborate costumes. I can easily see a couple of fans deciding to pose in a skit with, I don't know, one of my aliens, one of Larry's aliens. They look good. You put that in the book. It goes right well on a Kindle. Author interviews in the books. I think the promotion is different. I don't think anybody knows what they're doing. The big publishers are still there, but they're all scared. And the distributors are gone. So when you said this has happened before and it will happen again, I thought you meant like going to the moon. Which, you know, I grew up as a kid before World War II, which is ancient history to most of you, and thinking that, you know, I'll live to see the first man on the moon. I didn't believe I'd live to see the last one. Yeah. But that probably won't. Those things will happen. But in the publishing game, I don't think anybody knows what they're doing. There are zillions of publishers like her. They didn't used to be anything like that. Well, they did for a while, but they were all in New York and Boston, and then they all bought each other. And they acquired such huge debt in doing it that they spend most of their time servicing debt, trying to figure out how to stay alive. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what your average sale or one of your runs is, but I would imagine 20,000 is pretty good. And that's not the way publishing used to be. It might have been for hardbound only, but that's because they were planning on the paperback sales. I think Molten God's Eye sold 18,000 in hardbound, but it has sold billions in paperback over the years and still in print. It's the largest money-making title that Pocket ever did in science fiction. It sold more than Sagan's Contact. Sagan made more money because they had some of the movie rights money, and Pocket got to keep some that they didn't keep any of it. But as far as books, Moe was one of them, but that was paperback. I don't know what's going to happen with science fiction paperback anymore.
Well, I've noticed one of the disturbing trends in, well, I call it a disturbing trend because I'm kind of raising an eyebrow at it. Is you see that you've got stories and titles that have fallen into the public domain, and now people are just basically taking the book and inserting their own narrative in it.
Pride and Prejudice and Werewolves.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a new Jane Austen book called Vanity and Vampire.
Well, I was joking in the notes that I prepared for this that, you know, if I send my manuscript to Dianne and it's The Three Vampire Musketeers by Alexander Dumas and Jim Bernheimer. What's her gut reaction when she opens that as a public? What are your thoughts on that whole trend?
I love it. I mean, if it means that people are going to read, by all means get it out there, because I tell you what, the reading public is not the reading public I knew as a kid either. You've got shorthand text, and sometimes none of it makes any sense. You've got kids who can't spell. They skip over words that they read. They're reading at 4th grade level, and they're in 8th to high school age. You've got other kids who are 13 reading at a collegiate level. So how do you gauge how these kids are learning or how their interests coincide with reading? We want to make it interactive because that's the way to the future. The kids want interactive. Adults want interactive, a.k.a. the Kindle, the iPod, those things. They want books to talk back, almost. Much like, not like the parents do, but close. But you want a book that speaks to you as a resonation of either what marketability is or your interest. And even if I hate a book, even if I can't stand the subject matter, you've got to look at it impartially. Because again, it's not up to me to decide what's going to sell. It's up to the public, and the public is making my decision. Although gut feeling is really playing a big, big part in that.
Hold your questions for about until 10:45, and then I'll start taking questions. We'll do panel discussion until then. Saw a couple hands up. I just wanted to get that out there because I forgot to do it at the beginning. Bad moderator. One of the other trends lately, well, actually it hasn't really been lately, but it's post-apocalyptic and dystopian themes are always popular. And the future typically is not a very nice place to live in. Otherwise, why would we be reading? My two compatriots from Griffinwood, Brian Span and Terry Ervin, have novels in these settings. Ryan's is a cyberpunk thriller concerning telepaths and mega corporations, and Terry's is a post-apocalyptic world that mixes dragons, magic, and technology, all struggling for supremacy. My question directed to Terry and Ryan is, how do you balance the elements of a world that is familiar to everyone, but at the same time start taking us down believably to the path where your novels head? I'll start with Terry.
Well, I think the first thing is, the whole point that you're writing is to entertain the reader. And I think one of the best places to start with science fiction or fantasy or anything, whether it's post-apocalyptic or not, is something that they know, something that they're familiar with, and then go from there. One of the other things I think is you need to trust the reader that they can figure things out. Don't dump it on them. Don't tell them what to think. Give them the information and let them go. They can come up with their own, what's going to happen next? How does this work? How is this technology going to interface with magic? What's going to happen? And let the reader, make their guesses, hypothesize. I said that right. And let them see what's going to happen. In my book, on the cover you have a dragon and you have a stuka, and well, how's that going to work out? And as the reader is reading, they're forming, what I think is going to happen. Why did this happen? What's going to happen next? And if you engage the reader and entertain them, and I think they'll follow along as long as it's consistent, logical, and makes sense to them. And I'll just give you a hint. It doesn't work out so good for the dragon.
So you got to balance spoon feeding the reader versus